I'm just doing the streaming business. Adrian, what's going to happen is that even though I'm happy to host, I may have to hand over the reins to you at certain times because we're sort of getting mum ready as well as going through the service. So I'll let you know if I'm not at my seat, okay?
Hello.
Hello, Hannah.
Shabbat shalom to you.
Shabbat shalom.
Shalom.
We're okay. You're well logged on, are you?
All is well, yes, thank you.
Good.
Hello, Adrian. Shabbat shalom.
Shalom.
Steve's got a hat on, I can see, is he? He's gardening. Steve, are you gardening today?
Yeah.
Also, can you do ours when you're finished?
He won't finish in a hurry, believe me, there's plenty to do here.
Yeah, gets him out of the house at least.
Oh. Right. So who have we got so far?
Yeah, so we got Agent. I just had a phone call from the rabbi. He didn't know what the code was, so I'm just giving it to him this second. It's funny how people always at the last minute they phone me to ask for the code.
Well, just think of Yom Kippur.
Oh God, I have been thinking about it, but I try not to think about it too much.
No, yeah. Well, only from the purposes of comparison, you know, sending out all the information, and then on 5 minutes before they're due to step up onto the bimmer, they come with questions. Yeah. But we can't get used to this.
Yeah, we don't know how it's going to work even now at this stage. So it's
No, I'm not thinking about that. I'm just concentrating on today.
Yeah, I think I've just tried. I think near the time we'll worry about that, but get through each day. My objective is to get through each day without any major disasters.
Exactly. Whatever they throw at us, we will deal with.
Yeah, but I have a feeling it might be bad news for some people. But anyway, we just have to worry about that near the time. Adrian, on more pleasant things, I had a lovely walk around Stanmore Country Park.
I saw your pictures on Facebook. Yeah, we go up around there and all that.
Oh, you might. It's just lovely. We haven't been up the steep hill right up to the top. We just did it more or less on a level to Dennis Lane. But when I'm feeling energetic, I'm actually going to try to go to the top towards Stanmore Common. Is that something you've done?
Yes. Well, I mean, the other day we walked up Dennis Lane to the top.
Oh, right, you did. Gosh.
Walked down some of the closes up on Dennis Lane, and then down Wood Lane, came down the hill.
That's not what he means. Hello,
yeah,
we
do those, and we've done it the way round. As sometimes we've gone through there's a park that links Dennis Lane with Stanmore Hill.
Yeah, I know that one. Yeah.
Lindsay, we would have done the country park the other day, but when we were walking, Lindsay had open shoes on, so. Yeah,
oh dear.
If we find the right day, yeah, it's lovely up there.
It is, so we'll be doing that. Around Stanmore Golf Course is nice round there.
I haven't been around there.
Old Church Lane round there, that's quite.
Yeah, we quite often walk up to Stanmore, get a couple of bits of shopping, then come down Old Church Lane and.
Yeah,
so it's about shopping. Can I just ask a non-Shabbat question? Does anybody know where you can buy flour for baking things?
That's the
flour shelves seem to be empty where I go.
You've got to
Mabel's shouting anywhere down. Mabel can hear this conversation. Do you want to hear Mabel's answer? Where can you get flour, Mum?
From your come on by the street.
She says.
What did you say?
She says by the shops on the street.
Okay.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, but there is a shortage at the moment.
Hannah. What happens doesn't matter which shop you go into, you've got to be lucky they have it, because if they have a delivery and it's not been ripped from the shelves.
Yeah, well, I obviously wasn't there at delivery time. I don't go out shopping very often anyway.
I was very lucky I went Monday morning this week to Lidl, first thing, 8 o'clock when they open, and I was able to buy strong bread flour. So
excellent.
You've got to be lucky.
I've got this mad yearn to make scones or jam tarts or something silly, you know, something childish.
Well, there are some very good bread recipes on YouTube for no-knead bread.
Bread is Steve's department.
Okay.
I'm cake.
Bread. All the dough.
So what service number is it today? Just for
I can't remember. Well, who announced it? What I've decided, we're not working in order. I just asked the rabbi what service you prefer. It doesn't matter. I think we've reached a point where everything's all over the place anyway. I think he said he's going to do 3. I think that's what he said in the week. He will
Right.
announce it. We can ask him now. It's him. Thank God for that. Oh, and Joseph. They're all here.
Ah,
Hello.
Andrew, you're still muted. Oh,
Yeah, let's unmute you. There you are. We can hear you. I'll mute you later during your sermon, but not now.
okay,
Okay,
Andrew.
Shabbat Shalom. Joseph,
so that's
Joseph, so service 3, are you happy with that?
Yeah.
okay.
And yeah, can we do the second Torah service?
Okay.
Yeah.
I will do. Yeah, that's fine.
Oh, what do you want to end with? God Save the Queen or something?
Yeah. Well, Britannia.
Neither of them will be my choices, but
I
I'll
don't think so. No.
I'll do whatever.
Okay. I suspected so.
Yeah.
So what should we end with?
I don't know.
Okay, fair.
Something different.
Okay, let me have a quick think. I just
Yom
check? I'll just check. Can I just check my sound while I'm here?
Yes,
first of
yes,
all.
yes.
So. La 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 la.
Oh gosh, careful.
Perfect.
I'll have to be muted.
Okay.
Yeah, perfect to me.
Good.
Yeah.
Mabel approves as well. I've got my mother-in-law in the background.
Maybe.
Right.
Should we do final song? Should we do like Yomze, maybe?
Yeah, that's what I would suggest. Yeah, why not?
Great.
Okay, thank you.
All right. I might just. So the second Torah service. What page is that on, Andrew? Can I just check that now?
But that's if it's all right. It doesn't matter. It's just
I like the second tour service.
I'm happy to do it. What page is it on?
490.
490. Let's have a quick look now. 490. Yeah. So I sing for Ha'e Enenu. Yeah, that looks all good. That's fine.
Ramamu.
Ramamu. Yep. Okay. Okay. That's cool. That's great. I'll disappear for a minute, but I'll be back for the
Yeah, okay.
for the start. Yep.
It's funny seeing 2 lots of bookshelves in the background. Tidy bookshelves as well.
Steve said so many people seem to have their Zoom in the bedroom. I said, well, I'm in our bedroom because this is the best light from. I'm just in front of the window, and I can look out on the garden while taking part in the service, which is great.
That's nice.
It's a well-known.
A touch of nature. I've got a rose bush at the back, which is just coming into full bloom, and it's absolutely gorgeous.
It's a well-known academic trick when they're being interviewed at home, is that they sit in front of a bookcase, so that it gives them academic credence.
They saw our bookcase. I think it would give another perspective. But anyway, that's me.
If I do that, half my face is in total darkness, so it's not ideal. We were admiring your bookcase, Andrew.
You can't see what the books are.
Half of it. Well, I'm admiring Joseph's background. I remember a month ago we had his bedroom wallpaper. So this is
That's right. We've moved. Yeah, we had complaints about the wallpaper, so we've had to move.
Definitely an improvement.
We do take things seriously here. We take all complaints on board.
Of course, you know, if you're skillful, you can sort of do something with Zoom to get a background that makes it look as though you're in Tel Aviv or.
Yeah, I've seen those before.
Yeah,
Too
but
clever for me.
a bit pretentious, I think. But
I think so. Somebody at a beach, you're trying to do something serious. You see somebody in the beach in the background. It doesn't quite work. Oh, we've got Sarah here. Hello, Sarah. And we got a kid in the background. Sarah, hello, welcome. You're in the Liberal service if you'd like to join us.
Yes, it's Dougie.
and does somebody, before we start, does someone there want to? We've got the special theme of sanctification of time.
Hmm.
Do we get a volunteer first? before we
Get in there
start?
quick if you want to do a. How are you and Lindsay for doing a reading, or Hannah? Which one of you two?
Which reading did you want, Andrew?
It's the sanctification of time. It's
Oh,
on
right.
page
What page is it?
276.
276. We're certainly getting on in the year, aren't we?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
could. Well, it's as I say, we're at the we're in Leviticus at tail end. That is a very good reading. I've actually had to look at it. I think I did a bit of it for as a prayer before council.
How much of this do you want read? The sanctification of time.
Hello, the Baptism 11s, by the way.
Well, I don't know what your custom is.
It's up to. It's normally the service
You're
leader.
in charge. You're in charge.
You're the boss.
Well, we do the whole thing then, yeah?
Do the whole thing, yeah.
We're not
Yeah,
going
it's a good
anywhere
reading.
today.
It's one of the better theme readings, so I think it's good to do the whole thing, in my opinion.
Okay, would you like me to do it then?
Yes,
Yes,
you're
yeah,
volunteered. You're.
After the silent prayer, yeah?
Okay.
Yep, yeah, that's not how
Well,
we
just-
normally do it. That'll
Just
be
give
good.
me a nod or something.
Okay.
Hello,
Okay,
Rosemary.
276.
Yeah.
Thank you
Hello,
very much.
hello, Paul, and hello, Ron Shoulder.
Paul, you're looking very serious. I can't.
You're not.
Paul, I can see you're looking very serious. Have you forgiven me for pinching your big moment last month? No. I can see you're looking very serious and a bit
I'm sorry,
broigers
we've got-
already.
Yeah. Have
Don't
you?
worry,
It's a
don't worry, Paul's
broigus.
going to do it again.
Now, if you picked on the wrong person, anyone else would have been acceptable, but you. It will
Paul,
give
do
you-
you want- I'll give you an aliyah today, Paul.
Oh, thank you.
Can you
yeah,
do
they'll take it
Hagba?
away.
Can you do Hagba?
He'll drop it, I'm sure.
Okay, Paul, I'll give you the Torah blessings.
Right.
And you could, if I remember, that is, and and I take it's your custom to schnodder as well. So
Yeah.
there we go.
Absolutely.
Andrew,
I'm here.
Andrew,
Yeah,
can I just ask you,
Yeah.
in this sanctification of time, there's bits that the congregation reads. Obviously, I don't know how would we like to do that? Shall I just read the whole lot and hope
Read
that
the whole
people
lot,
when they're
Hannah.
at home?
We just can't do communal
Yeah, I
prayers.
think you have to read the whole lot, Hannah. And
Don't
then
get joined in silently. Well,
Yeah.
we're muted. You won't hear us.
I'll read the whole lot and people can join in at home as they wish.
Yeah, without.
That would
Just,
be fine.
can I just ask which, is it Kedoshim, the Torah reading today?
Emor.
Oh, Amor, and which chapters? Because I've got the hurt.
23, chapter Leviticus 23,
What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna try and.
starting with verse 15.
Leviticus 23, verse 15, yes.
What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna try and get the link to the Torah reading. I should do this in advance. That's quite. I don't. Does everyone actually have Humashim? Because I can't. There is an online link that I can get up.
I've got the hurt, so rather than the Santina, so I can look at it in the hurt.
Yeah.
Kevin, can you hear
Yes.
me? To save, it seems quite a lot for Hannah to do. Why doesn't somebody else do the congregation bits, the bits in italics on the
Oh,
main
okay,
service?
okay, Alan, you do the bits in italics, then.
Okay.
Okay,
Is that all right with you, Hannah?
perfectly okay. Perfectly okay. The more the merrier.
That's good. That does it. It's a good idea because it splits it up a bit. It's quite a lot there. So that's you sorted. Anyone? Any other requests? Any final requests? Joseph, are you there? But I'm trying to, because he knows where it is, where there's this website that gives the Torah reading. I've forgotten what it was. I can't find it in my favourites. Andrew, do you know what the website is that gives Torah readings online? Begins with S. Hello?
Safaria.
Safaria, that's the one.
Safari.
Yeah,
Safaria.
got it. Oh, Okay. So I'm going to try and find it from there. I've got, this is really good because it gives it in Hebrew and English. So we're on. So
Check. Well, I just checked that chapter 19 of Leviticus is part of Kedushim, not Emor.
Oh, 23.
23.
23. Sorry, 23. Sorry.
Janet, nice to see you this time.
Hello.
I hope you're feeling much better.
Hello.
Can't hear you.
And Tony and
Oh, I can't
Senga,
get that.
that's lovely.
Hello.
Right, I've got to get
Change shoes today.
I
Yes.
know.
Very honoured to have you.
We are honoured to have you.
It's been noted.
Well,
Be noted.
Hi, Maureen. Hello, Maureen. Right, I think you're clicking on the reform link. That's why. There's two links to the service. There's the reform. If you look at the Shabbat notices, click on the one for the liberal. That should take you to the liberal service. And maybe you're doing the Friday night one. Right, and it's taking you to the reform. Right, and this is via streaming. I don't know what to say then, because keep trying. As I say, on the liberal, maybe I'll try to. I'll see what I can do because the service is about to start. If you have problem, try again. Yeah, try again. It's a non-interactive. If you do have problems, and you might not be the only one, then I need to think there might have been a mistake with the admin. That's it. I've got an idea. Why don't you click on what?
Janet, it's Hannah. Can you hear me? I just wanted to say what a joy it is to see you.
Okay, bye.
That's to me or to Janet. Anna?
Before we start, Danielle, it's nice to see you. I remember we were in touch perhaps 20 years ago about your relative, the Reverend Myers of Ramsgate. Yes? I'd like to get in touch with you again because recently, can someone unmute Danielle?
Okay, Adrian, can you do this? Because I'm checking other things.
Wait a minute. If I
Okay, Danielle, yeah?
She's not unmuted.
You're still not, yeah, you're.
there we are. Now I'm unmuted.
The Reverend Myers, it's just that recently, well, a couple of years ago, I started doing some work on the Reverend Shandel, who was there also as one of Montefiori's reverends. So I'll get in touch with you sometime about the Reverend Myers to find out what you've done up to date.
Oh, please do. Yes, I've got quite a lot of information, so that would be great.
Yeah.
With pleasure.
Okay, we'll do, because there is now, I don't know if you know, a Montefiore Society in Ramsgate. And I've given a couple of lectures, and the secretary of it is Cliff Cohen. I don't know if you remember Rabbi Cliff Cohen.
Yes.
Yes, and they'd be very interested in hearing about Reverend Myers, but I'll be in touch with you.
Perfect. Excellent.
Okay.
But, yeah,
Thank you.
thank you. That's good. Got clarity. Andrew, can you do me a favour? Could you tell me what? Because I'm going to do the link to the Torah service. What chapter it is?
Chapter 23.
Of Leviticus, obviously. Yep.
Yeah, and I'm
Okay.
starting with verse 15.
Right. Well, what I've got the whole of it here, the Hebrew and English. So I'm going to put this link on for everybody. This is just another source for. Hello, everybody. Who's there? Vera. Nice to see you, Vera. Janet. Oh, good to see you too. Oh, we got a nice little, got a good crowd. And you know,
Sit on the settee.
Hello, Vera.
Hello, Vera.
Hello, Vera.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
Hello, Vera.
Hello, Vera.
Hello, Vera.
And we've also got, I keep forgetting, there's some invisible people here. When I said invisible, not literally, but we can't see them, but they can see us. I never know who it is that are on the streaming. But I understand Maria, you know Maria, don't you, Andrew? Maria Landau, I think you've had history with her.
Oh, he
Well,
hasn't
hey,
told,
I'm
he hasn't
Fraser.
told his wife.
I know, and I know Maureen, she just phoned, she's trying to get on. I hope she's successful. She's finding herself with the reform, but I think she should get there. And I think, Joy, if you're there, I know sometimes you log on. Hello. If you're not there, then still hello. And anyone else who I can't see on the streaming, you're more than
17,
welcome.
3, 6, 9,
Even though we
12,
can't
15,
see you, we're
16,
obviously aware
17.
that you're around.
Kevin,
Yes.
do we have Ron Collins with us this morning?
Not yet.
From
He
Sri Lanka.
normally likes to be visible, but he might be on streaming. So Ron, as usual, if you're around, again, we're jealous that you're, well, actually, the weather's not good, but it's lovely to be sort of in sort of hot climate. So I hope you're keeping well.
Maureen,
Kevin.
Shabbat
Yes.
Shalom. Lovely
Yeah.
to have you in video.
Yes.
Which device are you on?
I'm okay. I'm in your service now.
Oh, you're in there, Maureen. Good.
Yeah, I did
Maureen.
what you said, Kevin. Sorry. Yeah.
Maureen,
God
what
makes a change.
device are
Somebody
you
did what I've
watching?
said.
I'm on an Apple iPad.
Can you turn it portrait from portrait to landscape?
Yeah, I am on that. Portrait. Yes.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's better. We can see you
That's
from
the
the
way
neck
you-
upwards.
Okay.
Tony Sacker. Hello, Tony. Welcome to the Liberal service.
Lovely to see you and everyone else, and Senga's here as well.
Yeah.
Hello, Senga.
Oh, Senga. Oh, God, lovely to see you both. It's been a while.
Hello,
I know it's
Kevin.
only virtual. Yeah. So what we'll give it another couple more minutes, just in case people are sort of stuck or in traffic or delayed on the stairs. But what I will be doing, as I say this every time, that once the service starts, you'll all be muted. But then there'll be special occasions where you will be saying a prayer, and will ensure either yourself or I will unmute you. And especially when the singing's going on, obviously it's really important that we are muted because it really does distort it. If you've got any special requests, something's not going right, then just put your hand up, and me and Adrian, we're both hosting it. We will try to address whatever your difficulties are. Forgive us if we don't spot you. There's sort of quite a lot of that sort of going on. Let's just wait for Esther.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, Esther's here as well. Good, we're all waiting for you. Welcome, Esther. Esther's on the screen, Mum. So,
Hello.
so it's good to see you. I'm gonna unmute you just so you can say hello. You'll be muted soon, so this is your chance to say hello to everyone, Esther.
Oh.
It's Joseph's new chorister.
Yes, you're right next to Jones. Yeah, you're the new chorister, Esther. Right. Okay, so everyone's waving. Right. Okay, so you're going to be muted now. Everyone's going to be muted, apart from Joseph and, of course, Andrew. Are we ready? Are we ready to go?
Kevin, just 1 second. Just 1 second, please. Maureen, if you can angle your iPad so that you're in the center, and everyone can see your gorgeous smile and disposition.
What a schmoozer.
On the side, there's the actual Torah portion. I've sort of sent a message if you haven't got a permission, you want to follow the service with the Hebrew and English. I don't think Andrew needs too much of an introduction because it was only a few weeks ago that you're with us and you've been invited again, so you're more than welcome. And there's Sharon in the background.
Sharon is here.
Hello, Sharon. So we look forward to your service, and I'm now going to get everyone muted, and we look forward to another uplifting service from Rabbi Andrew.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shabbat Shalom.
I'm looking out of my window. There's a blue sky. The trees are now suddenly, it's amazing, a month on and the trees are in full leaf. It really is a wonderful morning. And that's why I've chosen service 3 that we're going to do this morning, which starts on page 117, 117. I think you'll see why by the first prayer after the opening Martova. Anyway, it's nice to see so many of you, and a couple of the faces who I haven't known for years. At least I'm seeing you now, and I remember seeing you a month ago. So it's wonderful to have everybody together on the Shabbat morning. It's interesting, isn't it? Because normally all we see are the back of people's heads when we're in shul, and here we are looking at people's faces. And maybe that's, of all of the disadvantage, maybe it's an advantage to actually see people's faces, to see people joining in and seeing them taking part in this service. And so on page 117, I know there are times when traditionally we would stand. The only problem with standing is that suddenly we see people's midriff and not their faces. So we're a good liberal community. If, however, you feel inclined to stand, then that's your choice, because we're liberals, but maybe you're happier sitting. And therefore, although the rubric says the congregation will stand, do what you want to, but probably sit as we start, Joseph, with Martovo on page 117.
מה טובו אכלך יעקב, משכנותיך ישראל. מה טובו אכלך יעקב, משכנותיך ישראל. בני ברוב חסדך, עבור ביתך, אשתחווה אל היכל קודשך, ביראתך. מה טובו אכלך יעקב, משכנותיך ישראל. מה טובו אכלך יעקב, משכנותיך ישראל. אדוני אהבתי מעול ביתך, ומקום משכן כבודך. ואני אשתחווה ואקרא, אברכה לפני אדוני עושי. מה טובו אכלך יעקב, משכנותיך ישראל. מה טובו אכלך יעקב, משכנותיך ישראל. ואני תפילתי לך אדוני, את רצון אלוהים ברוב חסדך ענני, באמת ישעך. מה טובו אכלך יעקב, משכנותיך ישראל. מה טובו אכלך יעקב, משכנותיך ישראל.
Andrew, are you there? Our rabbi has frozen. what I'm going to do, I'm going to continue with the prayers until Andrew is back, and I'm going to ask just volunteers to help with this. I don't know what's happened to Andrew, but he's statuesque at the moment, so we're just going to have to carry on accordingly. And we've got my mother-in-law in the background heckling, but that's something we have to live with. We thank you, O God, for this new day, for morning sun and evening star, for flowering of tree and flowing of tide, for life-giving rains and cooling breezes, for the changing seasons, for the cycle of growth and decay of life and death. We awake and behold a new day. O God, renew us unto life. Teach us to recognize your presence in creation. Grateful for your gifts, may we dedicate all our powers to your service. The next part, what I'd like to is Adrian and Lindsay, would you like to do the next bit responsively?
I'm back online now. I don't know what went wrong.
Oh, okay, we'll leave you. Okay, not to worry. Okay, it's back with you, Andrew.
Okay. And so on page 1180, unless I've sorry for that, but I'm back in business. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. We praise you, eternal God, sovereign of the universe, for eyes to see.
We praise you, eternal God, sovereign of the universe, for clothes to wear.
We praise you, eternal God, sovereign of the universe, for the joy of freedom.
We praise you, eternal God, sovereign of the universe, for the power to rise.
We praise you, eternal God, sovereign of the universe, for providing for all our needs.
We praise you, eternal God, sovereign of the universe, for daily renewing our strength.
We praise you, eternal God, sovereign of the universe, for the blessing of sleep and for the privilege of waking to a new day.
Amen.
And let's read together. Baruch she'amar v'haya ha'olam, Baruch hu. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamehulal b'fei amo, meshubach u'mefo'ar b'lshon chasida v'avada. Bishfachot u'vizmirot negadelecha v'namlichecha, malkeinu yachid chei ha'olamim. Baruch atah Adonai, melech mehulal b'tishbachot. With the coming of day and night, I will enter the covenant of God. When evening and morning depart, I will recite God's decree. God Most High, you are my righteousness. You teach me goodness. You are the fountain of knowledge, the dwelling place of holiness, and the summit of glory. Eternal might and majesty are yours. I will choose whatever you teach me, gladly accepting your judgments. As soon as I move my hands and feet, I will praise your name. When I go out and when I come in, when I lie down and when I rise up. When I rest on my bed, I will sing your praise. And in the company of friends, I will praise you with the words of my mouth.
טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר שמך עליון לחגיר בבוקר חסדך באמונתך בלילות עלי אסוף עלי נבל עלי היגיון בקינו כי שמחתני אדוני בפועלך במעשה ידיך אענן מה גדלו מעשה אדוני מאוד עמקו מחשבותיך צדיקתמה יפרח כארץ בלבנון יזכה שתולים בבית אדוני בארץ Asrot Eloheinu Yafrihu. Od Yenovan Beseva De Shenim Varananim Iyo Nahagid Ki Ashadonai Sori Balo Avlata Bo.
And together, praise be your name, eternal God, in heaven and on earth. To you, our God and God of our ancestors, let hymns and psalms be sung. To you all praise and thanks are due from now and forever. We praise you, O God. May you accept our songs of praise. And so we turn over to page 135, page 135. Baruch hu et Adonai hamavorach.
Baruch Adonai Hamavorach Leolam Vaed.
Praise the one to whom our praise is due.
We praise the Eternal One, to whom our praise is due forever.
And on this day with such a wonderful weather, and it just feels to be good to be alive, let's read together this prayer which thanks God for all of creation. We praise you, Eternal One, our God, Sovereign of the universe, Maker of light and creator of darkness, Author of peace and creator of all things. In your mercy you give light to the earth and all who live on it. And in your goodness you renew creation continually, day by day. How manifold are your works, O God! With wisdom have you made them all. The world is full of your creations. Your handiwork proclaims your praise. The radiant stars bear witness to your glory. We praise you, O God, Creator of light. Ahava rabba ahavtanu Adonai Eloheinu. Chemla gadola v'teira chamarta aleinu. Avinu malkeinu ba'avor avotenu shebatachu v'cha. V'talamdein chukei chayim. Hein techonenu talamdeinu. V'tein belibeinu lahavinu lahaskil. Lishmor v'lilmod u'lalamed. Lishmor v'la'asot u'lakayem et kol divrei toratecha v'ahava. V'ha'er einenu b'toratecha. V'dabek libeinu b'mitzvotecha. V'yached levaveinu li'ahava li'ira et shemecha. Kivanu v'acharta li'yechedecha b'ahava. Baruch atah Adonai, habocher b'amo Yisrael b'ahava. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad.
Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed.
Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Leolam Vaed.
Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'chol levavecha v'chol nafshecha v'chol me'odecha. V'hayu hadvarim ha'ele Asher anochi metzavacha hayom al levavecha. V'shinantam levanecha v'dibarata bam. V'shivtecha b'veitecha v'lechtecha v'derech. V'shochbecha v'kumecha. V'kshartam le'ot al yadecha. V'hayu le'totafot bein einecha. V'chtavtam al mezuzot beitecha. V'visharecha.
I think Danielle is gonna sing Laman Tiskaru, so if we unmute her, then she can do that.
You unmute yourself, Danielle. Yep.
למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Good and beautiful and true, sound, established and enduring are these words now and forever. True it is, Eternal One, that you are our sovereign God and Redeemer, as you were the God and Redeemer of our ancestors. You are our Maker, the rock of our salvation. We've known you always as our helper and our liberator. There is no God but you. Truly you are first and you are last. We have no Redeemer but you. You redeemed us from Egypt and freed us from the house of bondage. Then with great joy, Moses, Miriam, and all Israel together sang to you this song.
Mi hamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi hamohane adaba kodesh, nor tehilot osefele, nor tehilot osefele. שירה חדשה שיבחו גאולים, שמך על שפת הים, יחד כולם הודו והמליכו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. So Yisrael, kuma be'ezrat Yisrael, go aleinu Adonai tzavaot shemo, kadosh Yisrael, Baruch atah Adonai, Gal Yisrael.
So we move on to the Amidah on page 140. Adonai sevatai tiftachu fi yagid tehilatecha. Eternal God, open our lips, that our mouths may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei avoteinu ve'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel ve'Elohei Leah. Ha'el agadol hagibor v'hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim v'Konei Hakol, V'Zocher Chastei Avot v'Imahot, U'Mevi Ge'ola Livnei V'neihem, Leman Shemo B'Yahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magein, Baruch atah Adonai, Magein Abraham, V'Ezrat Sarah. And together, unending is your might, Eternal One. You are the source of eternal life. Great is your power to redeem. You cause the wind to blow and the rain to fall, the sun to shine and the dew to descend. In your love you sustain the living. In your compassion you grant us eternal life. You support the falling and heal the sick. You free the captive and keep faith with those who sleep in the dust. Who is like you, source of all strength? Who is your equal, sovereign, author of life and death? Whose will it is that goodness shall prevail. Trusting in you, we see life beyond death. We praise you, O God, source of eternal life. Nakadesh et shimcha ba'olam, kashem shemakdishim oto b'shmei marom, kakatov al yad nevi'echa.
Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzevaot, Malo kol haaretz kavodo.
Kavodo male olam.
Baruch kavod Adonai, mim kamomo.
From your concealment, majestic one, reveal yourself and rule over us, for you are our hope.
ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהי ציון, לדור ודור. Hallelujah.
From generation to generation, we will make known your greatness. To the end of time, we will proclaim your holiness. Your praise, O our God, shall never depart from our lips. We praise you, Eternal One, the Holy God. And together we read, you inspired our ancestors to hallow this day for your service. When upon its coming we pause to contemplate our life, we learn anew that we do not live by bread alone, but also by the spiritual nourishment we receive when we open ourselves to your influence. We thank you for the Sabbath day and for the opportunity it offers to enhance the quality of our lives. We thank you for its joy and for its peace. May our worship help us to take into our hearts its message of holiness and consecrate all our days by devotion to what is true, beautiful, and good.
ישמחו במלכותך שומרי שבת, ישמחו במלכותך בקוראי עונג, ישמחו במלכותך שומרי שבת, ישמחו במלכותך בקוראי עונג. מקדשי שבי כולם יסבחו ויתענגו מטובך והשיבי רצית בו בקידש טוב. ישמחו במלכותך שומרי שבת, ישמחו במלכותך בקוראי עונג, ישמחו במלכותך שומרי שבת, ישמחו במלכותך בקוראי עונג. עמדת ימים אותו קראת, זכר למעשה, זכר למעשה וראשית. עמדת ימים אותו קראת, זכר למעשה, זכר למעשה וראשית. ישמחו במלכותך שומרי שבת, ישמחו במלכותך בקוראי עונג.
And together we read, our God and God of our ancestors, may our rest on this day be pleasing in your sight. Sanctify us by your commandments and make us loyal to your teaching. Satisfy us with your goodness, gladden us with your salvation, and purify our hearts to serve you in truth. In your gracious love, Eternal One, let the holiness of your Sabbath enter our hearts, and may all Israel who hallow your name be exalted by its peace. We praise you, O God,
for the holiness of the Sabbath.
Eternal God, be gracious to your people Israel, and in your love accept their prayers. May our worship now and always be acceptable in your sight. We praise you, O God, whom alone we worship in reverence. Modim anachnu lach, shata hu Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu li'olam va'ed. Tzur chayenu magen yishenu, ata hu lador vador. Nodeh lecha u'nesaper tehilatecha, al chayenu hamasurim bi'adecha, v'al nishmotenu hapekudot lach. V'al nisecha shebechol yom imanu, v'al niflotecha v'tovotecha, shebechol eit erev v'boker v'tzohorai. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha, v'lecha na'er hodot. Grant peace, welfare, and blessing, grace, love, and mercy to us and to all Israel, your people. As a loving parent, bless us with the light of your presence. For by the light of your presence, eternal God, you have revealed to us a law of life, love of kindness and righteousness, blessing and mercy, life and peace. For it is good in your sight that your people Israel and all peoples be blessed at all times with your gift of peace. Praise you, O God,
the source of peace.
May the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable to you, O God, my rock and my redeemer.
Ose shalom bimrama, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Ose shalom bimrama, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Ose shalom bimrama, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol bnei Adam.
So we turn now in our service to the special theme, the sanctification of time, on page 276. Page 276. As we will find out, the Torah portion this week is Emor, and at the heart of it is in chapter 23 of Leviticus. We have the most extensive of the festival calendars that we have in the Torah. Actually, there are 3 different calendars of different lengths and different descriptions of the festivals, but we're going to read from Leviticus 23, and actually we're going to read about the time we're in, the time of the counting of the Omer. A reminder that the Omer connects 2 festivals, Pesach and Shavuot. It's a sort of an in-between time between these 2 festivals. And well, I suppose we're in sort of an in-between time between normal life and hopefully normal life. And in the meantime, just as our ancestors were, it's as if we're in the wilderness until we get to a new promised land. And so the sanctification of time. Hannah's needs to be unmuted.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Right. These are the appointed seasons of the Eternal One, which you shall proclaim. They are my appointed seasons. It was the glory of Greece to have discovered the idea of cosmos, the world of space. It was the achievement of Israel to have experienced history, the world of time. The Hebrews affirmed the reality and importance of time. To them it was not an illusion, something from which one must escape, but something which must be redeemed. And God said, "Let there be lights in the vault of the sky to separate day from night, and let them be signs to mark the seasons, the days, and the years. O God, you have been our refuge in every generation."
Before the mountains were brought forth, or ever you had formed the earth and the world, from eternity to eternity, you are God.
For 1,000 years in your sight is but as yesterday when it is past, or as a wash in the night.
The span of our life is 70 years, or 80 in case of strength.
Yet trouble and sorrow fill their duration, but they are soon gone, and we fly away.
So teach us to number our days, that we may get ourselves a heart of wisdom.
Because life is short, every day is precious. Because the flow of time is irreversible, every moment is an opportunity that will not come again. The past we may remember or forget. The future we may hope or fear. The present is for living. The present is what we need to sanctify.
If a religious duty comes your way, perform it immediately. For if not now, when?
The supply of time is a daily miracle. You wake up in the morning and lo, your purse is magically filled with 24 hours of the unmanufactured tissue of the universe of life. It is yours, the most precious of your possessions.
What is time? The shadow on the dial, the striking of the clock, the running of the sand, day and night, summer and winter, months, years, centuries. These are but arbitrary and outward signs, the measure of time, not time itself. Time is the life of the soul.
Moses promises a goodly old age, not meaning we may be sure a life of long duration, but a life lived wisely. For the goodness of a day's living ranks as far above multitude of years as the briefer daylight above an eternity of darkness.
Some gain eternity only after many years, and some gain it in a single hour.
I think we will leave time for everybody to read the meditation quietly for themselves, and we shall join up again at the top of page 279. Alan, would you like to read the bit in italics at the bottom of page 278?
In the tempestuous ocean of time and toil, there are islands of stillness where we may enter a harbour and reclaim our dignity. The island is the seventh day, the Sabbath, a day of detachment from things, instruments and practical affairs, as well as of attachment to the spirit.
Time, your creator conceived you glorious, majestic, awesome, burning like the bush, yet not consumed. The Sabbath, a great sanctuary in time, wherein humanity would meet God's presence. The feasts, God's holy shrines, would mark the season's turning, recalling times not yet past, still present in the wisdom of a people. New moons, white slivers of hope, would mark the prayer of women for happiness and peace. Time, let eternity touch you. Let timelessness enfold you in her arms. And as a mother calms her crying child, let God's eternal presence bring stillness to your restive spirit. Let Sabbath still be called delight, the new moon still remain our feast day, and festivals of joy our sanctuaries in time, dedicated to you, transcendent God, eternal one, time and space. Vaydaber Moshe et Moadei Adonai el Bnei Israel. Thus Moses proclaimed the appointed seasons of this eternal one to the people of Israel.
Maya Hayom Shabbat Shalom Maya Hayom Shabbat Shalom Shabbat Shabbat Shalom Shabbat Shabbat Shalom Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you, that was beautiful. And now let us turn to our Torah service, which this week we will find on page 490, page 490. When I looked at it earlier, I looked at those opening words, assemble the people, men, women, and children. They usually seem so appropriate as we look down and look around us in the synagogue, but now I'm looking at all your faces and you at mine, presumably. And so in a way we are assembled, in a way we're getting used to, although I'm sure all of us just look forward to the day that we can actually walk into the doors of the shul and to, well, I'm not sure even when we walk in, we can still shake people's hands. Maybe it'll be the elbow job still, but we don't know. But for the moment, it's good to see your smiling faces as we join and remind ourselves that actually, even in times of trouble, even in times of difficulty, we can be together as a community. And I certainly see that in front of me as I look at all your faces. Assemble the people, men, women, and children, and the strangers in your cities, to hear and learn to revere the Eternal One, your God, and to observe faithfully all the precepts of this Torah. And let their children who do not yet know it hear, that they too may learn to revere the Eternal One, your God.
וחרננו בתורתך ודבק ליבנו במצוותיך ויחל לבבנו לאחווה וליראה את שמך.
Now it says the scroll is taken from the ark. And just as we were about to start the service, I remembered that I had a Torah scroll, and I can't remember it. I found it again while I was doing one of the lockdown jobs of trying to clear the loft. And I can't remember who gave it to me, but here it is in a box. And here's the Torah. Unfortunately, when I took it out, I found that it was at Genesis, so I haven't had time to roll it back till we get to Leviticus. It's quite fragile, and it is paper, I'll be honest to say. I could have cheated. But if ever you invite me again, I'll have my Torah here, and we can actually read the Sedra from the Torah itself. As I say, a number of you who know me will know that I've been obsessed by Torah scrolls from the Czech and Slovak Republic for many years. But it brings to mind another Torah scroll that came my way. And probably now, about 20 years ago or more, I got the synagogue got a call from the American Air Force Base in, where was it, Ickenham. I think one of those bases that they were closing down. And as they were closing down, they found in the chapel a suitcase. And in the suitcase was a small Torah, much the same size as this, but also it was a traveling synagogue. When you opened it up, there was a curtain that you could open so that in fact you could create the suitcase into an ark. But there was also a Kiddush cup and various other ritual items. And in fact, it was an American Army or forces issue for American chaplains to take presumably into war or wherever they went. And so we got this, and I wonder what to do with it. It would have been ideal at a time like this. But at the time, some of you may have met a rabbinic student then, Misha Kapustin, who had just been appointed to be rabbi in the Ukraine, at that time in Kharkov. And they didn't have a Torah scroll, so we had a shul visit there and decided that we would donate it to the progressive movement in the Ukraine. I don't know what happened to it, because some of you may know that from Kharkov, Rabbi Kapustin went down to the Crimea. He was the only rabbi in the Crimea. And that was fine until the Russians arrived, and poor Misha had got himself into trouble by condemning the Russians. And so he and his family and 2 children under the age of 2 had to do a runner from the country. They got the last train out with a couple of suitcases. And I assume that the Torah suitcase didn't come with them. So somewhere in the Ukraine is this American Army suitcase, traveling shul. Well, I hope the Russians are looking after it at this present moment. So I have the Torah. We can do Hagba later, but for the moment, I'm going to read from the Chumash, and I think you can put the Chumash up now. Yes? Yeah, and Paul is doing the blessings. Sarah reminds me.
Yeah. Baruch hu et Adonai hamaborach.
Baruch Adonai hamaborach.
Le'olam va'ed. Baruch Adonai hamaborach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam. Asher b'chabanu mikol ha'amim. V'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Usafartem lachem mimocharat haShabbat. And you shall count for yourselves from the day after the Sabbath, miyom havayechem et omer hatanufa, from the day in which you have brought the omer, the sheaf of barley, hatanufa, which is waved. And this, of course, was done on the first day of Pesach, when the agricultural side of Pesach was marked by the waving of this sheaf of barley, the first of the crops to ripen. Sheva Shabbatot mimot tihieno, and you shall count for 7 a week of 7 weeks, making 49 days. Ad mimocharat haShabbat hashvi'it, until you come to the day after the Sabbath. Of the 7 weeks. Tisparu, Hamishim Yom, you shall count up to 50 days. V'hikravtem mincha hadasha Adonai. And then after the 49 days on the 50th day, you shall hold another celebration, and you shall bring another offering, a new offering, to the Eternal One. Mimoshvotechem taviu, you shall bring it from your own dwellings. Lechem tenufa, it shall be a bread of waving. Shtaim shnei esronim, it shall be 2/10 of a measure. Solet tihiena, it shall be solet, which is fine flour, not the coarse flour. You shall make of it chametz tenufa, it shall be a chametz this time. There shall be it shall be 11 bread, and you shall bring it bikurim ladonai, and you shall bring it as a wave offering of the first offering before the Eternal One. And of course, this is Shavuot. But if you notice, it never mentions the word Shavuot. We have here the calculation. It is the 50th day after Pesach, but it doesn't have a name except for the fact of you count 7 Shavuot, 7 weeks, and that's how we get the name. And so all it tells us about it is there is a new crop now, Bikurim, and in Israel, the second crop used to be, and to some extent still is, the crop of wheat. V'hikravtem ala lechem, and you shall bring with these loaves, shivat kavasim, and you shall bring with them 7 lambs, tamimim, perfect lambs, b'nei shana, year-old lambs, ufar ben bakar, and a bull from the herd, echad, just one bull from the herd, v'elim shnaim, and 2 goats, Yeh olot ladonai, and these shall be offerings to the Eternal One. Uminchatam unichkeichem, and you shall add to them, of course, their mincha, their grain offerings, and their wine offerings. Isher reach nichoach ladonai, and you shall sacrifice them in fire, and they shall produce a fine savor, smell to the Eternal One. Vasitem se'ir izim echad lechatat. And then, having done that, you should take a he-goat as a sin offering. They always added this one afterwards. Maybe we should do something similar at the end of our service, in which you have to say sorry for any mistakes I made during the service. And so there was the sin offering. So I apologize for any mistakes. I know about a sacrifice, but there you go. Ushanei kevasim b'nei shana l'zevach shalamim. And then you should take two lambs, a year old, as a peace offering. Now this one I found interesting, verse 20. And you shall wave them with the bread. Now you can understand the two loaves, the priest waving them, but is he waving the lambs as well? Must have been a very strong priest. And what about the bullock? I'm not sure about the bullock. I'm not sure. Maybe if you want to do some study this afternoon, just work out this one. It must be the strongest priest they had to choose to wave the lambs as well as the loaves. Okay, we've got that. Verse 21. Mikra Kodesh, and that very day you shall declare as a Mikra Kodesh, as a sacred occasion. Or call Melechet Avodah lo ta'aseh, you shan't do any heavy work on that day. Chukat olam b'chol moshvotechem ladorotam. It shall be an eternal rule that you shall keep in your dwellings for all time. It's an interesting one in your settlements. Somehow or other, this seems to imply elsewhere. We know in the book of Deuteronomy, it says you can only do the sacrifices when you come on pilgrimage to the temple, but this doesn't imply this. This seems to imply that they were village priests and that this ceremony could be carried out b'moshvotechem, in your settlements throughout the generation. And then what's important, in a way, from an ethical point of view, what follows? Verse 22. And so we've had the festival of Pesach, we've had the unnamed festival, which we know as Shavuot. And before we get to the festival of Sukkot, verse 22, Uvekutzrechem et katsir artzachem, lotel chaler pa'atzadecha, biksorchem, v'lechet katsircha, lotel aket, leoni ulager ta'azov otam ani Adonai. Exactly the same words as you have in the book of Leviticus that we read on Yom Kippur. What does it say? And when you reap the harvest of your land, you shall not reap to the edges of the field or gather the gleanings of your harvest. You shall leave them for the poor and the stranger, because I am the Eternal One, your God. And so it is a reminder that all of our festivals were meant to be not just for God, not just for ourselves, but each one of them was an occasion to remember the poor. And of course, the corners of the fields and the gleanings we know from elsewhere was the way in which they had to be left for the poor. And so we have this Torah portion which applies to this very time as we're counting the Omer, and I'll refer to it a bit later in the service. And so if we can have the blessing afterwards, please.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet, v'hayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai notein haTorah.
And so, Joseph, with Roma Mu, I can actually lift up the Torah.
רוממו אדוני אלוהינו והשתחוו לך קודשו. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו והשתחוו לך קודשו. כי קדוש אדוני אלוהינו רוממו. כי קדוש אדוני אלוהינו רוממו.
The traditional Haftarah for this week comes from the book of Ezekiel, but basically it's a long list of sacrificial instructions. And I think maybe we've had enough of those, of waving lambs and all the rest of it. And so a good alternative is Psalm 81. Some of the verses you will be familiar from because they seem to introduce festivals, particularly Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. We read it then in our service. And so I'm going to ask Sharon now to read for us Psalm 81.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bacha b'nbi'im tovim, v'ratza v'divreichem, hane'emarim ba'emet. Baruch atah Adonai, haboher b'torah, uv'Moshe avdo, uv'Yisrael amo, uv'nbi'ei ha'emet, v'tzedek. For the leader on the Gittit of Asaph, sing joyously to God our strength, raise a shout for the God of Jacob, take up the song, sound the timbrel, the melodious lyre and harp, blow the horn on the new moon, on the full moon for our feast day. For it is the law for Israel, a ruling of the God of Jacob. He imposed it as a decree upon Joseph. When he went forth from the land of Egypt, I heard a language that I knew not. I relieved his shoulder of the burden. His hands were freed from the basket. In distress, you called and I rescued you. I answered you from the secret place of thunder. I tested you at the waters of Meribah. Selah. Hear, my people, I will admonish you, Israel, if you would but listen to me. You shall have no foreign god. You shall not bow to an alien god. I, the Lord, am your God who brought you out of the land of Egypt. Open your mouth wide, and I will fill it. But my people would not listen to me. Israel would not obey me. So I let them go after their willful heart, that they might follow their own devices. If only my people would listen to me, if Israel would follow my paths, then would I subdue their enemies at once, strike their foes again and again. Those who hate the Lord shall cower before him. Their doom shall be eternal. He fed them the finest wheat. I sated you with honey from the rock. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, tzur kol ha'olamim, tzadik b'chol hadarot, ha'el ha'ne'eman, ha'omer v'oseh, hamdaber umkayem, shekol devarav, emet v'tzedek.
And so we move on with our prayers for community and nation on page 493, page 493. And I know members of the community are going to read them, but I would like to read an extra prayer at the end of the prayer for the royal family. But whoever's reading, can you read the prayer for the royal family, please? Alison.
Yes, I'll unmute myself.
You're already unmuted.
Oh, right. Eternal God, whose dominion embraces the universe, we ask your blessing for our sovereign lady, Queen Elizabeth, and all the royal family, for those who govern our country, and all who influence the quality of its national life. Make them conscious of their responsibility and teach them to exercise it in accordance with your will. May we all help to fashion in this country a society that excels in freedom and justice, tolerance and compassion, so that it may be a force for righteousness and peace in the life of humanity.
And I'd like to read a prayer which was written especially for this time by Rabbi Alexandra Wright of the Liberal Jewish Synagogue. It's a prayer for the 75th anniversary of VE Day. Eternal God, our refuge in every generation, we gather together 75 years since the guns fell silent and the Second World War in Europe came to an end, to remember with solemnity and to give thanks for the sacrifice made by so many who served our country with loyalty and love. We recall with sorrow the loss of soldiers and airmen, sailors and civilians, and 6 million of our own people who perished in the death camps of Nazi Europe. While their suffering and death bear witness to the iniquity of prejudice and discrimination, of conflict and of war, the remembrance of innocent lives stands as a monument and everlasting name which shall not perish. We give thanks for 75 years of peace, when swords were beaten into plowshares and spears into pruning hooks. We remember the long and hard years of rebuilding this country, the peace building and reconciliation that has taken place over decades, and acknowledge the privileges of living in a society built on democratic values. We pledge ourselves to guard freedom and to make secure our world for future generations. We pledge ourselves to build a world of confidence and well-being, of human rights and peace, and in this time of fear and uncertainty, to acknowledge the oneness of humanity, to preserve the precious resources of our planet, and to establish between nations and individuals justice, truth, and peace. Ken Yehi Ratzon. May this be God's will. Amen. Amen. And the prayer for the congregation. Stephen, yeah?
May the one who blessed our ancestors bless all our brothers and sisters of the house of Israel who enter synagogues to pray and to give aid to those in need. May the Holy One, to whom all praise is due, hear their prayers and help them to fulfill their aspirations for good. And
can I add a prayer for healing for those of our members who at this moment are unwell? Yehi ratzon milfanecha Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei Avotenu, shetishlach mehera refuah shalema, refuat hanefesh u'refuat haguf, l'chol batoch she'ar ha'elim. May it be your will, eternal God, a God of our ancestors, to speedily grant a perfect healing, a healing of body and a healing of soul, to all who are sick. And let us say, Amen.
Amen.
The prayer for Israel. Nobody's on. Anybody doing the prayer for Israel?
They need to unmute.
Yeah, Rosemary.
Unmute.
Eternal God, our rock and redeemer, grant blessing to the state of Israel, created to fulfill an age-old dream and to be a haven for the oppressed. Inspire its leaders and citizens with faithfulness to the aims of its founders, to develop the land for the benefit of all its inhabitants, and to implement the prophetic ideals of liberty and justice. May they live in harmony with one another and in peace with their neighbors, and cause to come true once more the ancient vision that out of Zion shall go forth Torah and the word of God from Jerusalem.
Hallelujah, Shem Adonai, ki niskav shemo levado.
Odo al Eretz v'shamayim v'yarem keren le'amo tehillah l'chol chasidav livnei Yisrael am karovo. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
Lift up your heads, O gates. Lift yourselves up, O ancient doors.
Let the glorious sovereign enter.
Who is this glorious sovereign? The eternal one, God of the hosts of heaven, is
He's
truly the glorious sovereign.
I sing it? Yeah.
Zeu sharachim rashem, hinasau pitchei olam, vayavo melech, melech hakavod, mihu zeh melech hakavod, mihu zeh melech hakavod, Adonai Tzavaot, hu melech hakavod, Melech HaKavod, Selah.
This is the covenant I will make with the house of Israel in time to come, says the Eternal One. I will put my teaching within them and engrave it on their hearts. I will be their God, and they shall be my people. No longer shall anyone need to teach a friend or a neighbor to know me, for they shall all know me, young and old alike.
Hashivenu Adonai Eleha V'nashuva Hadesh Yamenu K'kedem Hadesh Yamenu
So we find ourselves zooming on the 15th day of Iyar. Zooming, there was a phrase that in the Haftarah, I don't know if you noticed, it was God condemned us for using our own devices. Well, I suspect that's what we're all doing this morning. So I hope God actually is quite pleased with us using our own devices to connect and to hold this Shabbat services. But we find ourselves on the 15th day of Iyar, and it's the 30th day of the Omer, and it's also the day after Pesach Sheni. Pesach Sheni, well, not a lot of liberal Jews know about this one, though it's in the Torah to allow people who, for one reason or another, couldn't observe Pesach in its right time, but then they could do it a month later. But suddenly, rabbis have quoted it, I know a number of liberal rabbis particularly, to justify in this current emergency the celebration of weddings or holding of stone settings or memorial services months after they were originally planned to be. It shows that the Bible had common sense, helping people to cope with emergency situations, unlike, if I may say, the Orthodox rabbis, who will not allow people to say Kaddish, even if hundreds are attending the virtual funeral service on Zoom. Sefirat HaOmer, the counting of the Omer, we read about just now. Counting the days, I suppose we are counting the days. Although counting days in this lockdown has become difficult, one day merging into the next. The counting is the only actual thing, as I explained, mentioned about this period in our Torah portion. There's no other rituals, no other customs mentioned. However, in early rabbinic times, it became a period of semi-mourning, with no weddings, celebrations, dancing, or hair cutting allowed? Well, I, like you, have been barberless for more than 6 weeks. And by the end of lockdown, I will hopefully have the strength of Samson with flowing locks. Tradition links this custom of semi-mourning to the time of the Bar Kokhba wars against the Romans, when thousands of Jews, either fighting the enemy or civilian victims, lost their lives. And coupled with this, very strangely, there was a terrible plague that affected the Jews in Judea. War and plague, topical words and thoughts at this very moment. Yesterday was meant to be a significant VE Day, 75 years after the end of another war. Originally, it was meant to be a special day with good old street parties, but sadly downgraded due to this wretched modern plague. Maybe we will need a VC Day, Victory over Coronavirus Day. Bimheira v'yameinu. May we celebrate this soon and in our days. Though I can't remember the actual VE Day, I suspect one or two people around here we could spend a long time talking about it. At the time, I was a mere 2.5 years old. But I do recall the years of austerity that followed, though I don't think I realized how hard it was, particularly for my mother with the rationing of food. My only significant memory is that one day walking home from Birmingham Hebrew School, I saw my first bunch of bananas in a shop window and ran up to the hill to tell my mother. She excitedly accompanied me back down to the shop, only to find that the bunch was a window display made of china. But this we know, though we long for the end of lockdown and the victory over this pandemic, life after will not be unlike those after VE Day 75 years ago. If yesterday was Pesach Sheni and VE Day, next Tuesday is also significant, though I suspect none of us will note or celebrate it. For it is Lag BaOmer, the 33rd day of the Omer. Lag BaOmer was probably based, as does May Day, on an ancient folk festival. It is said that all over the Northern Hemisphere, this time of year was a time of restrictions on celebrations, because it comes at a crucial time for farmers. Will the crops ripen on time? No time to let the workers have time off to do weddings and so on. But for one day, the restrictions were lifted. Just think of May Day in old rural England, with maidens dancing round the maypole, and Morris dancers jingling, and men boozing. I have no doubt that there was similar high spirits on a spring day in ancient Judea. But this was too high, light-hearted a reason for celebrating, especially in wartime. And so the legend developed that during this Omer period, 24,000 of Rabbi Akiva's students died of the plague. But on one day only did the plague end. And of course, on Lag, the 33rd day of the Omer. And so festivities could replace mourning. And from the 16th century, another tradition arose, that on this day, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, the supposed author of the Zohar, the source book of Jewish mysticism, died. And this led the Kabbalists to institute a strange yahrzeit. It's a pure yahrzeit, as it is celebrated with bonfires and dancing and simchas. I wonder if in Israel this year, the pious will be allowed their pilgrimage to Meron near Safed, where it is said that Rabbi Shimon is buried. Hundreds of thousands usually schlepping there to commemorate this yahrzeit. Though reports in the press have sadly shown certain Haredim flouting lockdown laws with impunity, so I'm sure Rabbi Shimon's yahrzeit will be more of an attraction than worrying about the virus. Rabbi Shimon was a curious figure. He lived in the 2nd century of the Common Era and was a devoted pupil of Rabbi Akiva. And following his teacher's example, he became a radical and vocal opponent of the Roman oppression. I love one of his reported sayings, and some of you may recognize it from a film. He said, "All the Romans have done is for their own purposes. They built marketplaces, but only for prostitutes to stand there. They built bridges, but only to levy tolls. They built beautiful bars, but only to refresh themselves so that they could kill more Jews." You can see why he got into trouble, and the Romans sought to execute him. And so, according to legend, he ran away with his son, and they hid in a cave for 12 years, all the time just studying Torah. Well, 12 years later, he heard that the emperor had died, and so he emerged from his cave, but was distressed. He saw the farmers getting ready to harvest their crops. The markets were open and busy. Life was back to normal. He upbraided the farmers for wasting time harvesting when they should be studying non-stop as he had done. They laughed at him. He cursed them, and wherever his eyes fell, the fields were consumed with flames, until a voice came from heaven. "Have you left your cave to destroy my world? Go back into your cave and study your ways." It's all very Monty Pythonist, maybe, but I think it's an interesting comment on our own times. And what will the world be like when we come out of lockdown? The first time Bar Yochai came out of isolation, he was angry, frustrated, absorbed and self-righteous. His reaction was to point the finger at those trying to get back to normal life. But he did learn. And after further reflection in his cave, he had changed, and he went on to become one of the leaders of the Sanhedrin and the teacher of Rabbi Yehuda Hanassi, who formulated the Mishnah to define future Jewish life. Bar Yochai came out of isolation to help the future of society and the survival and the future of the Jewish world. I can only hope that we as individuals and a nation and across the world can have learned just a few of the lessons of this pandemic should have taught us, about our need for greater self-sufficiency, of the need for sufficiency, not overabundance, of the meaning of neighborhood and helping each other out. I'm sure you know the list as well as I do. Of thinking about the future of our planet, not just our present greed. And finally, I thought of another person in self-isolation in a cave. You may remember the story of the prophet Elijah, who ran away from Queen Jezebel, who sought his life for wiping out her prophets of Baal. During his isolation in his cave, his frenetic anger dissipated, and he emerged to go out and appoint first his successor to build for the future. And you'll know the other reaction on his emerging, that God was not in the wind or in the fire or in the thunder, but in a small, still, murmuring voice. He found God again, not in anger or zealotry, but in simple reason and quietness. Whatever else this period of lockdown has done for us, whatever else this service has done for you, it has certainly brought many people back to their Judaism. when we emerge from our caves. May this enthusiasm and sense of calm and reason stay with us to help us live and build a safer, healthier, and more peaceful future. Amen. But now we move to the future with the Aleinu on page 520, page 520.
Shall I chant it, Rabbi, or do you want to read the
Yes,
first
please.
bit?
Yes, why not? Let's chant it all together, shall we? Join in, Aleinu.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, אשר שם חלקנו לייחד את שמו, וגור עלינו בהמליך מלכותו. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסר הארץ, ומשל יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגובה מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אינו אפס מלכנו, אמת מלכנו, אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום החשבות אל לבביך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת עינות.
Together we read, trusting in you, eternal God, we hope soon to behold the glory of your might. When false gods will vanish from our hearts and idolatry cease forever, help us to perfect the world wherein you keep under unchallenged rule. When all will invoke your name, relinquish evil, and turn to you alone. May all who dwell on earth come to know that to you every knee must bend and every tongue swear loyalty. Before you let them humble themselves, and to your glorious name let them give up. Let all submit to your sovereign rule. May that time come soon and last forever. The ultimate sovereignty is yours, and to all eternity you will reign in glory. As it is written, the eternal one shall reign forever.
ונאמר בחיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
And before we do Kaddish, Andrew, there appeared to be a bit of interference on the final bit of the Aleinu. So I don't know whether there's something going on in the background. Can we just do another sound check with you?
Yeah, okay. Can you hear me now?
No, there's still, I don't know what it is, any suggestions, but we don't want to cut you in your prime.
I'm suspecting, Andrew, it's your microphone, or you may have a device close to your laptop, or there's feedback coming from somewhere.
It should be positive feedback.
Is that any better now?
No.
When did that start?
Just that, literally just
about 3 minutes ago.
Nothing's happened.
Oh, wait.
Well, was somebody else then?
No, no, you're back to normal again.
Andrew, that's fine.
Well done. Okay, for the Kaddish, again, I'd like to keep everyone on mute. But if you've got a desire that you actually want to join in out loud, if there's one or two of you, that's acceptable if it's something sort of personal for you. But I encourage most of you to stay on mute. Okay, go ahead.
The growing good of the world is partly dependent on unhistoric acts, and that things are not so ill with you and me as they might have been, is half owing to the number who lived faithfully a hidden life and rested in unvisited tombs. And on the Shabbat, on the occasion of their yahrzeit, we make mention of the names of Esther Berlem, the mother of Maureen Lubert, Ura Levin, the father of Ronald Levin, Elsa Steiner, the mother-in-law of Anne Steiner, Ferry Steiner, the father-in-law of Anne Steiner, Yosei Zararia, the mother of Lynn Morby. Even when they are gone, the departed are with us. They inspire us to live as in their higher moments they themselves sought to live. We remember them now. They remain in our hearts. They are a continual blessing, for whom we say the Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, v'alma divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, v'agala v'zman kariv v'imiru amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah mevarach le'olam ulamei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ah v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'tada v'yitale v'yitalal shemei l'kudesha barichu. Le'ela min kol bechata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Damiran bi'alma v'imiru amen. Yehei shalom araba min shemaya. V'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imiru amen. Oh, say shalom bimroma. Huya say shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. V'al kol b'nei adam. Imiru amen. May great peace descend from heaven, and abundant life be granted to us and all Israel and all humanity. And let us say, Amen. And so are there any notices you want to give before we conclude? We're going to conclude in a moment with Yom Zel Yisrael on page 644.
Yeah, I would like to just do a couple of announcements. Wow, thank you very much, Andrew. This is obviously not easy times, but I think one advantage of being in this space, I've been able to look around. Normally, as I think you mentioned, you see the backs of people, you tend not to concentrate so much on others. All I've seen is smiling faces during the kind of amusing, light-hearted parts, and serious concentration where there's something very pertinent. I've looked around the room, without exception, I've seen everyone fully engaged. Haven't even seen anyone yawning or anything like that. And so you've obviously done something right, and it's something that we all need at this difficult time. And I'm hoping it's before Genesis that we'll invite you back again.
That's right.
And also what you missed, we've got my mother-in-law here in the background. She's actually now so visible. She was joining in. This is Mabel. She was clapping, laughing, concentrating. So there was another element that that really, really appealed. So thank you very much. And I'm going to have lamb chops for lunch, and there's probably a different meaning behind that as well.
Wave them, wave them.
Yeah, I'm about to think what am I going to do with my lamb chops now. And also those on streaming, I hope you enjoyed it in the same way. And also, again, thank you for Joseph for fantastic musical accompaniment, and Danielle for your solo as well.
And I think Lindsay wants to say something.
Yeah, okay. Yes.
I just wanted to point out, in case anybody has missed the weekly email from the show, that actually, contrary to our tradition, there is something for Lag BaOmer. It's a Tuesday evening and it's on Zoom. It sounds quite fun.
Yeah, it's good to read the notices, because I believe that Reform, which I actually joined in, they do a quiz. It's normally an activity on the Sunday. So keep looking at the notices. There's quite a lot going on, which is really good. It's keeping us all engaged. I just want to mention a couple of future services. Next Friday we'll be leading, Gwendolyn will be leading a joint service with Reform. If you haven't actually witnessed one of Gwendolyn's service, she's another one. She really engages people. She's very educated. Her singing is absolutely wonderful. It is really worth just kind of zooming in, so to speak, for Gwendolyn's service. And next Shabbat, we've got Rabbi Rachel Benjamin, who I'm sure some of you have seen before, and I'm sure we're going to see more of her in the future, but she's actually leading the service next Shabbat, and I'm really looking forward to that. And then, Stephen, I see your hand up. Just one more announcement from me, then the floor is yours. I'm really excited about 2 weeks' time because it's going to be the biennial, something that I didn't think I'd be able to actually participate in, but now it's coming to our homes. It was actually on the notice, but if you want to check their website, you need to register for it. It will be Friday, Saturday morning service, and I think there's activities also going on. This would be a good way of engaging with the wider liberal community and maybe do some networking, who knows, but this is really going to be good from an educational, spiritual and fun level. So we look forward to that in 2 weeks' time. We might even see, Andrew, will we see you there?
I'm doing a couple of things, yes.
Right, okay, right. So, hey, another bonus. And I'm sure there's probably a lot of our other service leaders who will be there. I know Joseph is doing something, so there'll be a variety of us in sort of different roles. Okay, that's me done. Stephen.
Yeah, it's just also to thank Andrew again, but also I think that Lag BaOmer stuff is on Monday evening and not Tuesday, so it might just be worth checking the newsletter to make sure you don't miss it if you wish to attend.
You could check. To be honest, every day it's I get confused with days because like one day merges into another. So, but yeah, check that. Is there any other announcements? Okay. Mabel, have you got anything to say to the community? You don't mind. Okay. What are we going to finish off with, Joseph?
As Rabbi Goldstein already said, we're doing Yom Ze L'Israel on page 644. And just to say about the biennial, for the Saturday morning service, I've already recorded some piano parts, which is going to be mixed together with various other people's recordings and singers. So that should be very nice. That's the Saturday morning service at the biennial in a couple of weeks' time. So Yom Ze L'Israel to finish on page 644.
יום זה לישראל אורה ושמחה, אורה ושמחה, שבת מנוחה. יום זה לישראל אורה ושמחה, שבת מנוחה, שבת מנוחה. צבית פקודים במעמד סיני, שבת ומועדים לשמור בכל שני, לערוק לפני מעשת וארוחה, שבת מנוחה, שבת מנוחה. יום זה לישראל אורה ושמחה, אורה ושמחה, שבת מנוחה. יום זה לישראל אורה ושמחה, שבת מנוחה, שבת מנוחה. המדת הלבבות לאומה שבורה, לנפשות נחבות, נשמה יתרה, מנפש מצרה, יעשי אנחה, שבת מנוחה, שבת מנוחה. יום זה לישראל אורה ושמחה, אורה ושמחה, שבת מנוחה. יום זה לישראל אורה ושמחה, שבת מנוחה, שבת מנוחה. קידשת ברכת אותו כל ימים בששת כלי לכת עולמים, פה מצאו הגורמים השקטו ביתך, שבת מנוחה, שבת מנוחה. יום זה לישראל אורה ושמחה, אורה ושמחה, שבת מנוחה. יום זה לישראל אורה ושמחה, שבת מנוחה, שבת מנוחה.
And let's hope it has been a Shabbat of Simcha. I'd like to end the service with just a quote from Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai of blessed memory. Shimon Bar Yochai said the following. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai used to say, there are 3 crowns, the crown of the Torah, the crown of priesthood, and the crown of royalty. But the crown of a good name excels them all. And so I hope that we can leave with the thought that we have a good name, but I'll leave you with one other saying of Rabbi Shimon. He said, this is the penalty of liars, that even when they speak the truth, they are not believed. Anyway, so I hope you think you've got a good name, and that is MS, that's the truth. And I wish you Shabbat Shalom.
Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you.
Okay, this is where it gets a bit chaotic. We're all unmuted now, but we're also going to do Kiddush. So I don't know whether if you've got wine or challah or anything kind of equivalent. It's not quite 1 o'clock for me, but whatever you feel.
I don't know who this man is. This little girl.
Your big red. I don't know who wants to lead Kiddush. Anyone? Maybe Stephen, because you've got a glass. But any of the congregants want to lead Kiddush?
Want me to do it?
Yes, please. Yeah.
Okay. Shamaru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat, Lasot et HaShabbat, Yiratam Sulam, Beini u'bein Yisrael, Od Olam, Keshet Yamim, Adonai, et HaShemayim et HaAretz, Hayom HaShvi'i, Shabbat vayinam Bash, Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei
Amen. Thank you, Stephen. Now you know why we generally don't have combined singing. I think at this stage it's so who wants to do Hamotzi? Anybody else perhaps? Who else has got a hollowness?
Someone's got a hollow there.
Sharon. Sharon's got a very large colour.
Yeah. Who's got a colour? Well, we get Andrew, perhaps. I'm the only one that seems to have a visible. What about Paul and Pat?
No, Paul's got one.
Yeah, go on, Paul and Pat. You can do that.
Can I suggest that in the good biblical tradition, we wave our colours as well? Got your lamb chops and wave your colour.
Wave your chops in the air.
Amen.
Yeah, thank you,
Janet.
Janet. Janet, are you waving or do you want to speak?
I want to speak. I want to know what he's doing in our sanctuary.
What is?
Paid a quick illicit visit. No one here. Take home again.
Up on the top deck.
There was the background. Not really there, Janet, honest.
Yeah.
All right, I now have some. I have the other half.
Yeah, it tells you who's on.
He's got 1/2 and he's got the other.
What does the green one say?
I should actually mention somebody else I need to thank is Alan, because I think it was through a connection with Andrew that's actually got a link into us. Was that right, Alan?
Yes, it was. I bumped into Andrew at a meeting, the LJ Council meeting some months ago, and just I thought would ask him whether he'd be willing to take a service, and this is the second one that he's taken. So thank you, Andrew.
Pleasure. It's been my pleasure. Thank you. Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shabbat shalom.
Thank you.
This is called this
Fail you, Andrew.
Where I'll allow a couple of minutes for those who want to schmooze.
Danielle, have you got my number?
Probably. I presume I can find it from somewhere.
I'll come in there. I have Danielle and Andrew. I have both your email addresses. I will write to you both so that you've each got the others.
Lovely. Thank you. Look forward to it, Danielle.
Thanks.
Bye, everybody.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom to Hector as well.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
I can also wish Maureen and Brigitte long life.
Thank you.
And it's
Thank
good to
you.
see Maureen, in presence. Maureen, how did you get on in the end?
I did what you told me to do. I did last week's and it worked.
It worked. Somehow it didn't work this week. So I wonder if anyone else had that. But how are you've been able to get your settings now good that we can actually see you as well as hear you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Welcome to our virtual world. And Georgia Mary, how are you doing? Georgia Mary, good to see you again. You're becoming regulars again.
Kevin?
Yes?
As a matter of interest, do you know how many people have in on this Zoom service?
Yeah, there was 21 participants. That's 21 screens, and a lot of them were in twos. So I'm guessing about 30. And then I don't know how many people were on the streaming. So this is numbers are increasing. It's sad.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, Joseph. Thank you again. I look forward to seeing you next week. Bye.
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 Bye, everyone. So I'm going to go. It's good to see you all, and I look forward to seeing you all next week. The numbers are growing.
Thank you, Kevin.
My pressure.
It's too late now.
Shabbat shalom. We're going to conclude now. Bye.